Dragon Delves is here. Well, technically it releases on July 8th, but it's out there in circulation, both digitally as well as physically, especially if you have a local game store that participates in the early release program. Dragon Delves is an anthology book containing 10 total pre-made adventures, and while I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers about those specific ventures, we do have a few things to go over. GameMasters here, and today I want to give you an honest review of Dragon Delves so that you can decide if it's worth your money and if it's any good for you and your table. I am not a fan of buying blind, and I can't help but feel that in today's environment, buying digital is exactly that, but also that WotC encourages the practice as they know that once the sale is made, they have your money, whether you like the product or not. It used to be that we could go into a store and thumb through the book to see if it was any good, if it was going to be a decent fit for our table. Sadly, a lot of physical stores have closed up, and the ability to look through the book, it's just not available anymore. And of course, sites like Amazon and D&D Beyond, they don't let you look through the pages before you purchase. To that end, I've got my copy, and as mentioned, I want to give you an honest review of Dragon Delves so that you can decide if it's worth it for you and your table, or if it's even worth your hard-earned cash. That said, let's jump in. While the meat of this anthology is the adventures themselves, there's a fair amount of more information within that many folks are likely going to want to have, even if they don't care about the provided adventures. And I'll explain that information a little bit later in the video. There are two covers available, the regular cover and the collector's cover. Artwork inside spans a wide range of styles, and I'll have some of that artwork kind of fade in and out here during the course of this video. At the beginning of the book, and this is something that I find to be a little obvious, but how it's worded is perfect. It talks about how to use the book itself. It explains that should you be a new dungeon master, or that perhaps your regular DM is sick, yet everybody else is still there and eager to play, that you can easily pick up this book of Dragon Adventures and run it due to its low complexity. It also explains that how one can weave these adventures into an ongoing campaign, possibly even using some of the adventures within as filler adventures for when you don't have enough, or just don't have enough. What am I trying to say? Filler adventures should you not have your core campaign fully prepared. That's what I'm trying to say. It also talks about how to convert all of the adventures into one long-form campaign, which is one thing to point out. The adventures in this book are all standalone. They don't have anything tethering them together to each other, other than the fact that they kind of revolve all around different colors of dragons. But there is one section that provides 3 different options on how to weave them together as a full campaign. Option 1 speaks about using the mysterious patron trope. So as to avoid spoilers, I'm not going to divulge the patron's true identity, although it does mention who it is. But it's something or someone that has popped up in recent lore for Dungeons & Dragons. But it suggests using this mysterious patron as the weaving point to tie the adventures together into a campaign. Option 2 suggests using the intro to the final adventure in this book to kickstart the entire campaign, that the players are tasked with taking a special dragon's egg and must steep it into the hordes of 10 total dragons in order to hatch it. Thus, you then go off on a tangent from that final adventure and start off at the first adventure and make your way through all of them before finally ending up back at that final adventure. And I gotta admit, this is kind of a fun little concept. Option 3 ties in a little to an older 5th edition book, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, at least in that it suggests using magic items described there as a means of an incentive for the characters to seek out various dragons, using some key specific items from the Treasury book to help them. By doing this, it again ties all of the adventures together into a larger campaign. Of course, you could also use elements of all 3 options, or even come up with your own should you really want to convert this into a longer campaign for your table. It quickly became obvious to me that the adventures here were specifically designed for the new 2024 rule set, but I feel that you could just as easily use the 2014 rule set if you really wanted. Now, some of the monster stats are going to be a little bit different from the 2014 manual, so keep that in mind, but it does suggest just bookmark. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. While all of the adventures within are for a group of players, there are a couple that have been given something called Blessing of the Lone Champion, so that it can be played with a DM and a single character. Blessing of the Lone Champion gives you heroic inspiration when you finish up a short or long rest, as well as whenever you roll initiative, plus you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to 10 times your level when you gain this blessing, and when you gain a level. The blessing itself lasts for the duration of the adventure, and while it may seem a bit powerful, keep in mind that it's specifically designed for solo play. A bit earlier in the video, we mentioned that there was a fair amount of more information within that many are likely going to want, even if they don't care about the provided adventures. This information is presented towards the end of each adventure and sums up the history of each dragon from that respective adventure. For example, the first adventure, Death at Sunset. And again, I'm going to avoid spoilers in this video about the details of that adventure, but I do need to divulge that it revolves around a green dragon. But anyway, at the end of that adventure, it goes over the history of the Green Dragon, as it has been depicted over the years in the various editions of Dungeons & Dragons. And to show you some of the core of how it's presented, I do kind of have to spoil that information here, just so that you can kind of see what I'm kind of talking about. It talks about the Dragonlance Adventure Dragons of Dreams, which came out in 1985, and how it set the Green Dragon's identity into the lexicon of Dungeons & Dragons, that Clyde Caldwell's cover art provided the visual. It also details what the Green Dragon looked like over the years by providing to us kind of how it looked in the Monster Manual from 1977, and again from the Monster Manual in 1993, as well as how it was depicted in the Magic the Gathering's release of what was the expansion, the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms back in 2021. There are other images depicting how it appears over the years as well. Mostly concept art. Now, some folks are really into that kind of thing, but sadly, while each ending of the adventure has this section called History of, and then of course the respective dragon's color, it's really more just the artwork and less of the history of the dragon itself. The written history is limited to a very short paragraph, with the bulk of these history sections being made up of the artwork on how the dragons appeared throughout the older editions. The beginning of each adventure is broken down into the same format. It details the key plot points of each adventure, as well as the elements that the Dungeon Master should have at the ready, or at least already prepared, such as simply reading the adventure, making note of the key NPCs within that given adventure, and bookmarking the monsters that you'll need in the Monster Manual. But this section also notes the key NPCs for you, and I do kind of like that, because you don't have to read through the entire adventure just to make notes of that yourself. It's right there at the beginning. It also gives a synopsis of the adventure itself, providing to you a background and why the characters will be embarking upon that specific quest. And from there, it dives right into the adventure. Obviously, each adventure is going to revolve around dragons. There are 10 total adventures, with each one centering around the specific dragon type. The adventures range from level 1 up to level 12, so the possibility is pretty wide should you have a party that is already leveled up to some extent. The adventures themselves are decent. One is very juvenile, but again, without giving away spoilers, I'll just cite that the adventure's name is Baker's Doesn't. But it's a low-level adventure that is unlike really any other adventure I've seen in an officially published adventure book, anthology book. If you want to know spoilers about the adventures, let me know in the comments. I might do another video of those, and kind of give some spoilers away, but overall, the other adventures are fine. I've not seen anything that is dramatically broken or grossly overpowered. Because these are all pre-made adventures, there's little wiggle room for a sandbox of movement, but overall they flow well enough. As we previously mentioned, none of the adventures are tied together, but with the various options found at the beginning of the book, they could be. I would be remiss if I didn't state that I was a touch disappointed to see that while the book is tailored to use the new 2024 rules, it didn't include anything regarding the bastions for the players. Now, a crafty DM that wants to use this as a campaign book, that would be another option to tie the room together. Dude. But just include the bastion as a base of operations for your player, and let that be the anchor point. Perhaps have that mysterious patron show up at the bastion door. Now, I want to give my final thoughts on Dragon Delves, and as I do, I want to thank everyone for watching today's video, and I especially want to thank my YouTube members and Patreon supporters. Their contributions have been above and beyond, and if you'd like to support this channel, I'll leave a link down below me here in my talking box, as well as down in the description. As far as anthologies go, I can't say that this one was my favorite. I like the content. I mean, it's all revolving around dragons, so there's a good bit to like here, but it just kind of lacks that oomph that Candlekeep Mysteries had, or the awe that Journey Through the Radiant Citadel provided. Still, dragons are cool, and because of that, it was kind of a fun read for me. I hope that I've done a good job in today's video at keeping it as spoiler-free as I can. My core objective was to present to you a more factual and technical view of the layout and presentation. But for those of you that do want to know some adventure spoilers, again, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see exactly that. Just comment below. And if I get enough feedback from you guys, I'll be happy to spoil away. For those of you that want to take your adventures specifically regarding dragons beyond the pages of this book, to really deep dive into the psyche of the different dragons, I'm currently doing a series of how to run videos where I showcase different dragon colors and how a DM can effectively run them based on their age category, but also how players can interact with them. And be sure to check those videos out next. They're all nested here in this playlist. Also, talk to me down in the comments. Is Dragon Delves a book that you plan on picking up? Or have you already picked it up? Well, again, let me know your thoughts about it down in the comments, and until next our paths cross, may the next dragon you encounter be friendly.